Welcome back to Yoga Berry. So today I've got two poses for you which are great for thoracic curves, and one of them is a lengthening of the spine, and then the other one is a shoulder stretch, and both of them together are great to release some of that awkward tension or tenderness around the shoulder blades. You won't need any props for this practice except for a wall, which I hope everyone has got. My name is Christine Jareggi-Berry. I'm a yoga teacher and I specialize in yoga for scoliosis. Do join the Facebook group for more inspiration and support. Check out some of my practice videos on this channel, subscribe to my channel and visit my website, which you will find in the description below. So we're going to start facing the wall. So I apologize for turning my back to you, but I'm kind of a comfortable step away from the wall. So not too close, not too far away. And then just bring the arms up as high as they will reach. So bringing the palms flat onto the wall, and then just ever so slightly bend your knees. So maybe your hands will slide down the wall a little bit, and that's okay. And then from there, we're gonna ask for the tailbone to move into kind of the direction of the diagonally back behind you, so that we start to bring the hips kind of more on top of the ankle, so a little bit further back. And you might already feel how this kind of creates that really nice and lovely stretch into the upper body. So this can be quite intense when you start with this, so feel free to release anytime you need to release, and just kind of drop the arms, roll the shoulders a few times and then come back to it. So don't worry if you're finding this quite intense, but it's great to create some space in the back. So what we don't want to do is start to round in the spine. So if I show you from the side and you imagine I have my wall here, we don't want to tuck the pelvis under and just reaching the arms up. We want to untuck the tailbone. So we want to reach the hips slightly back and reaching up with the arms, so that you're being pulled in opposite directions. So I'll come back to the wall for the second little adjustment. So if your thoracic curve is convex to the right, then you're going to start to move the hands slightly over to the right. So we're going to balance the curve, and then reaching up with the left arm a little bit more. So we want to create that space here on the left side, on the concave side of the curve. Obviously, if your curve is the other way, then you do the opposite instructions. We're just going to take a few breaths here. And then slowly coming back to center and release the arms. Good. The second stretch that we're doing, it's kind of related to the first one. It's just going into the pose a little bit deeper, into a little bit more of a hamstring stretch. So if you're by the wall, what you're going to do is bring your hands a little bit further down, so they are about hip height, and then start to walk the feet back. I'm going to show you this from the side because it's much easier to see. So I'm going to bring my hands onto this counter here. You can have your hands against the wall, or you can use a kitchen counter, for example, as well. Works really well. It's a great prop. So it doesn't really matter as long as you've got something that is about kind of hip height. This one is maybe a little bit lower. It's a little bit lower for me, so it could be a little bit higher, but we need to make it work with what we've got. So let's start to walk the feet back. So again, we want to allow for the hips to come over the heels. So I'm taking my hands, my feet back. I'm not going into kind of a plank pose here. I'm allowing for the hips to reach back, to track over the heels. Good. And then from here, so you can take this as far as you want, where you can still allow for the hips to reach back. Now the aim for this pose is to create traction in the spine. So you can reach forwards with the crown of the head and back with the tailbone. Now for some of you this might be too much. So if your hamstrings are really tight, you do need to bend your knees a little bit more so that you can focus on the length in the spine. So we're really reaching in opposite directions. If your hamstrings are tight, this might look like this, so that the legs are straight and you're rounding into the back. That's not what we want. We want length in the spine. So just see the difference. So it's not this, not a rounding, but bending the knees and reaching. Good. And then when you had enough, just release for a moment. Again, this can be quite an intense stretch. Really nice to lengthen the spine. We're going to do this again, and I'll show you the second adjustment that we do for our thoracic curve. So we'll bring the hands against the wall or onto the kitchen counter, start to walk the feet back. Again, find that length in the spine, and sometimes it helps to be by a mirror or have someone take a picture of you so that you know what you're doing. And then we're going to counter that thoracic curve. So if your curve is convex to the right, again, we're going to move the hands over towards the right. So both hands over to the right so that you create space on the left side of the thoracic spine. Good. So if you also have a lumbar curve, then just make sure that your hips haven't moved, that you're just kind of keeping them very level. So we're just going to breathe, take a few breaths here into the left side. Good. And then let's slowly come back to center. Start to walk the feet forwards and then coming out of the pose. Let's come to the shoulder stretch, which is one of my favorite poses to release all that tension around the shoulders. So we're going to start facing the right side against the wall. This is if you have a right thoracic curve. That's the side you're going to start with. And I'm about this far away from the wall, so just so you can set yourself up like this. So you want the feet hip distance apart. And let's bring the right arm up over the head, up towards the ceiling, just placing the palm of the hand against the wall. And then just make sure that you haven't turned your upper body, but that your upper body is facing forwards and that your hips are facing forwards. And then from the left arm, we just want to slightly activate the left arm, the fingertips reaching down towards the ground. Good. So from there, what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that this is a clock face, and we're going to move the hand towards 1 o'clock. So just notice if your upper body has slightly shifted now, make sure it's turned forward. So you might feel that this really stretches the front of the shoulder already. Let's stay a couple of breaths to allow for the body to adjust. And then we're going to bring the hand down to about 3 o'clock. So it can be quite intense. If it's too much, you just step away from the wall a little bit. So give yourself a little bit more space, but still the shoulders are facing forwards. Let's stay with the stretch for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to press the little finger side of the hand into the wall, turning the palm up towards the ceiling. This is quite difficult, but it's really, really good to counter that shoulder blade that is usually sticking out. So we're bringing it back in. Good, let's stay for another couple of breaths. And then let's slowly release. Bring the arm up over the head and then releasing the arm. Good, roll your shoulders. It's quite intense. Let's do the other side. So left side facing the wall now, a little bit away from the wall. Bring the left hand up onto the wall. Now on this side, for your right thoracic curve, your convex side will be away from the wall. This is the side where your shoulder blade is probably sticking out. So for this side, we're going to bring the hand behind the back, and we're going to ask for the shoulder blade to stay back and down throughout the pose. Left arm reaching up over the head. And this is great, just to stay like this is great for thoracic curves. As you are creating space in the concave side, so the left side is the concave side, the squashed bit. Gonna take a few breaths here. And then we're gonna stretch out that shoulder as well. So we're gonna bring the hand down to 1 o'clock, making sure that the upper body hasn't turned. So still facing forwards. Feeling that stretch along the front of the arm. And then let's take it down to 3 o'clock. And for this side, we don't need to turn that palm up towards the ceiling. We're just going to keep the hand pressing into the wall. Just making sure that your hips haven't moved, your upper body hasn't moved. Good. Let's stay for another 2 breaths. And then let's bring the arm up over the head, up towards the ceiling again. Let's take another big breath here. Such a great position. And then let's release the arm and release your shoulders. Good, so I hope you enjoyed these poses to lengthen the spine and to stretch out the shoulders. If you want to learn more about yoga for scoliosis and how you can start adjusting your practice to your curve pattern, then do check out my online courses, and I will see you very soon for the next video.